So, hello everybody, I am Cedric Menager. I'm the founder of Enovution, and I'm based in Paris, France, working at Station F, the largest incubator in the world. And today I'm going to speak to you about some key success factors in innovation. I would like to share with you some of my learnings and experience that I've been successfully or spent successfully applying in my life. So I've always worked in tech. I've been working for the first internet payment company in France. Then created my own couponing platform in 2000 in the middle of the bubble, which was a nice experience as well. I then moved to the corporate world with few exec roles at PayPal in France and then in Singapore. And more recently, I was the GM for Intuit in Paris, and I've launched QuickBooks in France. I'm now back to entrepreneurship with building a platform which will help entrepreneurs to pick the right cloud apps for their own business. And so at the same time, I'm also mentoring startups in several incubators, especially at TechStart or at Station F here in Paris. Let me pause here one minute on Station F. Station F is an extraordinary project here in Paris. It's the largest incubator of startups in the world. It's welcoming now 1,000 startups in one large building. So I'm currently in the building. So let me just share with you how it looks like. So here is it. So you can see the main startup building here. It's early in Paris, so you don't see so many people, but you can see that it's pretty big. And so this is what they call the create area, where the startups are really working and having their offices. There is another big building which is called Share, where they meet with external people, and then another place for food and drink, which is called. Well, I don't remember the name, but never mind. The main one is really Create, and so I'm able to see a lot of startups, 1,000, and I don't meet all of them, but really I gathered a lot of learnings from working with them and seeing the ones that are getting successful and the ones that are getting a bit stuck sometimes. So today I would like to speak of one deep subject, which is the innovation around customer. And for that, I would like to first describe maybe what are the three main things that I like to see with startups and which are certainly successful factors for startups today, and I think in general. The three things are basically having a vision, because if you don't know where to go, if you are the best boat driver and you don't know where you are going, you won't be going very far. So having a vision and a strategy built on that vision is very key, and it's often forgotten by startups and entrepreneurs because they are just focused on the idea, and the idea might be great, but if you don't have the vision where the idea is leading, it might be really a problem, because you won't be able to take the right decisions when regarding to hiring, regarding to investment for the future. So having the vision is one of the important key criteria for me when I'm mentoring the startups. The second one is clearly discipline and or operational excellence. Discipline is not a nice word, but operational excellence is also very often something that is neglected at the beginning of a project, but that is really mandatory to succeed. And that's very often the difference between a successful startup and the one that will fail, even if they are coming from the same concept and idea. And so operational excellence for me is a gathering of two things. Is focus, meaning really having a plan, sticking to the plan, and really don't not going everywhere. When you are a startup, you're having many different opportunities, but yes, you have to follow the 1, 2, or 3 that are key for your business. The other concept behind operational excellence in my mind is really discipline. And again, it's not a nice word, but you really have to build schemes and process that are allowing you to measure your progress, to see where you stand versus the plan. And that's something that are more used generally in large corporations, but it has to be implemented as early as possible in the startup as you're building the business, because it's a way for you really to see to measure progress and to move forward. And obviously, again, focus is very important, but the discipline will enable you to identify quickly if you're going in some direction that are not the right one, and then to maybe turn around and focus on something which makes more sense for your business. So the combination of those two concepts are for me driving to operational excellence, which is key to success. So last one, and that will be part of my deep dive today, is clearly the innovation based on customer. So that's the third key area of key criteria for me that I'm also training and mentoring to startups here. It's really, I mean, having a proper innovation cycle, which is based on customer, and not only depending on customer, because you need to bring your own ideas and creativity, but clearly it's not, you can't have the entire process built on brainstorming and ideas and then say, oh, we'll innovate and not talking to the customer. And so that's something which is also key to me, and I'll be focusing a bit on that part. So for me, I call it innovation based on customer obsession. And this is a gathering of two concepts. The first concept is customer-driven innovation. I'll come back on it. And the second one is what we call design for delight, and which is really the I would say the working process for innovation, and I'll come back on it as well. Customer-driven innovation. This is very simple and basic, and I think most of startups are doing it naturally, but it's always good to have it as a cycle in mind, because then you can define where you are in the cycle and adapt, and say, oh, we are stuck, or we need to accelerate, or really move in the process. So there are 3 steps in that process. One is find an important problem to solve. So I think that's a very basic thing for a startup and for any entrepreneur is really the problem you want to solve, and it has to be an important one, because otherwise it won't be a big business. So you have really to identify that big problem that people have. The second step is really to be sure that you are the one who is able to solve the problem, and that you have specific skills and capability that will enable you to solve the problem. And it's not resources most of the time. It's because you have the not money, but resources, human resources often. So it's really where you see if your team is able to build a solutions to solve the problem, and so that's where you have to be sure that there is an equation between the problem and what you're able to do with your team. So that's the second part is really to build that team and that capability that will enable you to solve. And then you go to the solving phase, and that phase is really the goal here is to build a durable competitive advantage that will enable you to really have something new, but and a new solution that will help people and really solve the problem, but at the same time something that can't be so easily replicated. It has to be I mean, something where you have a barrier, where you have a durable advantage. And so that the three part of the process is identify the big problem, have the resources and especially the team that is able to solve it, and then work on the solution, which will be a durable competitive advantage. So based on that customer-driven innovation scheme, then there is a tool, the tool which is called Design for Delight, and which is basically an innovation cycle and process that will enable you to very quickly identify problems, that will enable you to identify potential solutions, and then test them with the customers, so that you find if it's really solving the problem, and if you even find other solutions during the test. So those are the three phases. Again, it's what we call deep customer empathy, and it's really how to identify the problems. Two is what we call go broad to narrow, which is really find the solutions and the best solutions for what we have identified, and then it's rapid experimentation. So let's come back on number one. So number one is deep customer empathy. What does it mean? In that you really have to be with your customer to identify what are the problems they have, and it's true for any, I would say, kind of business or industries. It can be big industries, it can be pure online stuff, it can be I don't know, even events or organization and things like that. And it can be applied to any business. And the concept that we are using to be empathic and get the food from being empathic is what we call follow me home. And so follow me home is a technique where you basically go and follow the customer in his place, whether it's at home or at work, and you just observe. And based on observation, you are able to learn a lot, basically. And it's not a market study, it's not interviews, it's not calling people to know what they think or what they say. It's because when they say, they often don't say the truth. But when you observe, you see the truth, because it's really what they are doing. And if you are able to be very small in a room and behind the customer and see what he's doing, you will be learning a lot. And whether it's on an experience that he's having without your product, or with an experience he's having with your product, so that you can see how he's interacting with it. And there are several examples of that. I name one, which is famous, which is the McDonald's smoothie, where they were selling a lot of those in the morning, and they were not understanding why they were having so much people buying those smoothies in the morning, where it's not. I mean, you should buy coffee or tea or whatever. And they went to and follow the customers, and they went to the cars, and they were saying that people were taking the smoothie because they were doing more than a tea or coffee, and during a commute they were happy to be able to do this and this and this and many times, because it was not as liquid as a coffee or tea. They were able to have it for a longer time. And so McDonald's, based on that, increase decrease the liquidity of the smoothies, and so it became more heavy, and people were more happy and buying more, and so they've been able to sell more smoothies in the morning by pure observation. So and clearly they would not have been able to understand that if they would not have followed the customer. So follow me home is really a way where you will be able to identify a big problem. So smoothies is maybe not a big problem, but it's a big business. So it's really where observation is the way to identify the right issues and the right problem to solve. You see the pain, you see the face of the people. I'm stuck somewhere in an experience, and so you will pick you will pick there some ideas and some problems to solve. So once you have identified those problems and those big issues that people want to avoid, you have to go to the second phase, which is what we call broad to narrow, which means that you will be identifying the solutions. And for that, here, I think many people are using the same techniques, but initially, which is brainstorming, throwing the ideas on the wall, post-it, everything. Here, the thing that really is important is obviously you are putting all those ideas on the wall, but the one that are you have to retain, and that's maybe the technique that people don't use often, is really the one that has the most impact, the biggest impact, clearly, and because you can have nice solutions that are helpful, but they are not as impactful as it should be. So really the one that have the most impact, but also the one that are looking maybe the craziest. And with a combination of impactful and craziest, you certainly touch something, and that's where you could find something which is really new and really, different in the market, and where you can disrupt. So again, you go from the big wall, many ideas, and then you obviously you take the one that are shared by most of the people in the room, but really also the one that are the most impactful and creative. Then you have to go to phase 3, which is a rapid experiment to test solutions. But really, before that, I would like to remain one thing, is that very often the solutions and you have to be a good tester after that, to really go in the phase where you will check if the solution is good. You have to work on the assumption that you are wrong, okay? Because if you say, okay, I have the right ideas and I'm going to deploy and then test it, but in the process, no, very often you're wrong, and in most cases you are wrong. So you have to really test your ideas before moving on any deployment, any even development. I mean, any coding, and so that's where rapid experiment is a beautiful tool that I've been learning late in my career, too late, and but it's really something which helps you gain a lot of time and money, because it enables you to really move away the wrong ideas and the wrong solutions that won't fit your user or customer expectations. So how does it work? Basically, it's the goal here is to validate your hypothesis with as little investment in time and money and tools as possible. So it means that you will kind of prototype your ideas at the minimum level. So it's not even what I'm teaching to the startups here. It's not even building an MVP or kind of designing something which is close to the solution. It's very often purely pen and paper, and so it's very easy. It's very cheap, and you can iterate very, very fast. So what? Let's take an example. So you want to build an onboarding experience for an app or for a cloud solution. You just have to draw your screens on paper. You just have to push the button somewhere. You just have to highlight the key call to actions in your screen on paper, and you will put that in the hands of customers or prospects, even better. That will where you will run the experiment with adding the screens and the experience one by one, and you will see that the amazing thing is that people are in it, and they are clicking on your piece of paper and say, hey, next, and they're really in it, and it enables you to identify very quickly some directions and think that people where people are stuck, and so your onboarding is hey, you will lose most of the people there. You also are able to identify some wow moment. So people were when the face of the people are, oh wow, interesting, oh I like that, and so this means that you have something which is key in your experience and differentiating, and that will please people, and you have to put it even more upfront in your experience. So it's really a very easy and cheap way to, in the early stage of your product development, to really remove things that are that won't work, and to find things that will really please people. So it's not quantitative; it's qualitative. So usually we try to have 5 to 10 prospect or customers to go through the experiences, and then you try to iterate very quickly, so that you can run several experiments with that bench of customers or prospect. So how we advise people to work on rapid experiment is usually you organize a session of 1 hour. You have 3 experiments, and you have your customer that will move from an experiment to another. And during the 3 sessions, you are able to renew and adapt your experience. Because you're on paper, you can draw a new paper. You can change it. You can build new screens, and so very quickly you can test different experiences. One example which has been successful for us, we were at Intuit, is we were having an onboarding experience where people have to give their bank credentials so that the bank data can get into the QuickBooks software, and people were reluctant to give their credentials because it's hey, it's my bank account, and the data that are coming from my bank account that I'm sharing with QuickBooks, and so we tested different messaging, and at some point we put the bank's logos on the and we designed the bank logo like HSBC or whatever bank, a CT or whatever, and we were able to find that when people were seeing the logo, they were, oh, they're the logo of the banks. It must be they have partnership with the bank. So I feel much better. So I will put my credential, and we increase the conversion by 30% just by putting the logos and with having no deal with the banks. So that was really something very interesting. So this is a kind of a finding that you can have, and if you have between your 5 or 10 customers, 80% of them that are reacting the same way, in that you have something. So it's a first clue. It's not A/B testing, but at the beginning of your experience, very often of your product building, very often you don't have the traffic that is required for A/B testing when you're starting a business. So that's really a way to have a mix of quantitative and qualitative that will give you good directions. So let me show you maybe a short video of rapid testing that we were running at Intuit.
All right, team, I'm going to go grab our customer. Let's get ready to show them the prototype. Hey, Brenna, I'm Ben.
Hey, Ben, good to meet you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. What we're going to do is actually show you a rough prototype of an idea that Intuit is thinking about building. And as you go through this prototype, just maybe talk out loud and click on it as if it was a real application.
Okay.
And to get started, we're going to set a little scene. I want you just to spend a moment getting kind of in the moment of that scene, okay, and then take it from there.
Okay. Sounds
great.
Good.
Let's do it. Okay, great. You're here at your favorite coffee shop and you've just ordered your favorite drink.
Very nice. Okay.
And just as you pay, you receive an alert on your phone.
Okay. All right, save up. You just spent $3.75 on coffee. Would you like to put the same amount in savings? Yes, save up, no thanks, or question mark. Let's see what that does. When you select the yes, save up option, we move the amount you choose into your savings account. You can access this money anytime you need it, or just let it grow over time. Okay, got it. Great, we'll move $3.75 into your savings account, which you can access anytime you need it. Continue or save up more? Continue. Saving up. And done. We saved $3.75. You now have $427 saved up. Nice. Okay, done or save up more. I think I'm done.
All right, great, and scene. Wow, thanks, Brenna, that was awesome.
So, as you've been able to see in the video, there are clear roles. One last thing is, as for the follow me home, observation is key. And you have really to let the customer go through the experiment without asking questions or driving, because then you will miss the fact that people are stuck. If you say, hey, click here, then no. If people are stuck because they don't know where to click, it's a very important information, and you should not help them go through the experiment too much. So that's why it's important to have those roles in that are defined at the beginning of the video, so that you can really have people that observe, and all the people who are participating have to remain as silent as possible. One tip as well is to ask the customer to speak loud what is thinking through the experience, so that you can capture that. So you have to capture what they will say, what they will do, and also the faces again, because the faces are great ways to identify where people are struggling or where people are happy, and those two elements are key for improving your experiences. So I think we're coming to an end of this sharing, and hopefully it has been useful for you guys on how to optimize your process of innovation, and again on relying on what is really important at my heart, which is a rapid experiment. And you have many examples of videos of rapid experiment or rapid prototyping that you can find on YouTube. So don't hesitate to go there and find some others.
Thank you, Cedric. Thank you so much for sharing. Definitely very, very interesting. I definitely think that we all have some questions and are curious about your experiences and what your thoughts are on innovation. It definitely seems like you've had a lot of experience in it. So I guess to start, what are the two most common mistakes you see entrepreneurs make, besides maybe not having a vision and only focusing on the idea and maybe not being disciplined enough?
I think and I won't be very, I think, unique or I would say genius on this, but it's really on hiring the right people. So, I mean, it's really the key. As I was saying, I mean, you identify the problem, and then you have to define how you can solve it with your resources, and the key resource is people, and very often entrepreneurs are not able to hire the right people, because one, it's difficult. It's difficult to hire the people that have the right skills, especially when you are on a hot, I would say, business such as crypto or AI or whatever. So that's first, it's difficult. So you're often going a bit too fast and hiring the people that are available, and you don't want to lose 3 more months, and that's a mistake very, very often. The second thing is that entrepreneurs tend to hire people that are thinking like them, which is also another mistake, because we know that, I mean, all models are clearly demonstrating that innovation is coming from teams that are having different backgrounds, different type of mindset, skill, and everything. So if you have only people that are looking and thinking like you are on the table, very often you will find solutions that are treating that the people around the table, but not the rest of the world. So that's the main thing, is hiring the right people. The second thing, and I've been through that myself, is not admitting your errors soon enough, and not being able to say, okay, no, we are going in the wrong direction. Let's stop. Let's take some fresh air and maybe change the direction and recognize that we did something wrong. And yes, we spent many hours and we have developed something amazing, but it's not suiting the market. So that's the other big mistake that people are often doing, and it's not easy, is to recognize that you are going in the wrong direction, and that you have to pivot or do difficult things that are linked to the fact that you are in the wrong direction.
Interesting. Is there a way to try to make it so that you're constantly trying to see and maybe convince or have your team be open about admitting mistakes?
So I think that the thing that I would use more is clearly developing a strategic board that you will call regularly and say, okay, here's where we are, and take half a day or a day with those people to say, hey, here where we are, here is our problems, here are the things that are going well. And very often they will, and you have to, in this board, it's very important to have people who are honest and direct, and so that can help you identify the troubles. And I have seen people very good at it, and so if you can find those people who are direct and sometimes brutal, it will help you to identify when you're maybe stuck and you can't recognize it yourself.
Okay, so hire the right people, be patient, and also don't be afraid to hire someone different than you. And then keep on admitting your mistakes.
Yes. Yes.
So what do you think are the major hurdles people have to overcome in order to actually embrace innovation? If you're creating something new, how do you make it so that other people want to embrace it?
Yes, there are potentially many hurdles. So, but one difficult thing, and especially as you're moving from the initial phase of developing the MVP and starting to develop your business and sales and everything, is really to balance, for me, the innovation with running the business, and finding the right balance on using your resources on innovation versus supporting the customers and supporting the development and the scaling of your business. That's something which is often difficult, and people have often tendency to focus a lot on innovation and to forget the scaling part, and not giving enough resources to that part, or to move everything on the scaling part and forget to innovate and have a success which is shortened, but then the second wave of innovation that you have to deploy is not coming fast enough, because you have removed too much of the resources from innovation to running the business. So on that, because I'm sure you will ask me how to overcome that issue. I don't have an exact solution, I guess, but what I tend to do is to define and allocate resources very precisely at each stage of the development of the business, and say, okay, especially on engineering resources, okay, at this phase we will have 40% of the resources that will focus on innovation, and 60% will be focused on developing back office tools, developing customer support tools, billing tools, and everything, really running the business. And so if you're focused and if you're disciplined about allocating your resources in that way, then that should enable you to maintain both a good balance. You have to define the right balance at the beginning, because it's 20, 30, 60% allocated to innovation versus business. But if you're not wrong, then and you respect that allocation, then you're certainly having less trouble at the end.
Very interesting. So the saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Is this ever good advice when you're looking at innovation?
It's funny because I heard it a long time ago. That was a long time I haven't heard it. It's very personal, but I don't think it's a good advice for me, because broken is too vague a word for me. So, for example, I think you can have an experience that can be working correctly. So you think you might not have to fix it, but it's completely uncompetitive. So it's working, but if it's completely uncompetitive, then you're in trouble. So that's why I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's something that you should always follow. I think it's people tend to improve too much things that are already great or good enough. But still, it doesn't mean that something which is working is not to be improved significantly because it's uncompetitive.
Got it. Okay, and last question. Who do you think is the most innovative company today?
I think the obvious answer is Arcadier. So that's a no-brainer. But beyond Arcadier, from the one I know well and people know well, I think I would say Amazon, and I would say Amazon because it's I think it's the one which is applying the innovation playbook the most, and from every aspect, from the customer obsession, from the data-driven, from the rapid experiment. They're doing everything well, and it's in their DNA, and it's So for me, it's currently the one that is the most innovative. At the same time, they are so perfect in applying the playbook that they might miss a little craziness, and so maybe that they wouldn't bring the iPhone or something as crazy as that, but I would say on a regular basis that they are for me the ones that are innovative the most. Now, are they the most innovative company in the world? I don't think so. I think today the ones that are the most innovative are certainly in Asia, and they must be people like Tencent or Nave or Grab, because it's where you have the ecosystem where you have talents, you have energy, you have growth, and resources. So, but I don't know those companies enough well to say which has the most innovative DNA. But I'm sure that there is more innovation now in Asia than in the GAFA.
Awesome. Actually, one more question. So during your talk, you said that you learned rapid experimentation too late in your career. Do you really think, is it ever really too late to learn or do something new or different?
Oh no, never too late. No, I was meaning too late because if I had used rapid experiment in the early days of my career, I would have had, I think, better success, and especially in my first company that I created in 2000. It was clearly a concept that I didn't know and that I didn't apply, and I was clearly building my specs based on my ideas. And that's what I was sure it was right, and I didn't test. So now I'm very happy to have this to be able to use this tool, and it's never. I mean, I'm pretty. I'm a pretty old entrepreneur right now, so but it's that's the beauty of it. It's you're learning every day, and that's one thing that I learned through my corporate experience, but that I am able to use in my entrepreneur life now.
I think that's all the questions that we have. In the future, if anybody does have questions for you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
I think LinkedIn is a great tool, and so I use it. I'm quite often connected, so don't hesitate to ping me, and I'll be really glad to connect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us at Inspire. I'm sure that all of our participants and attendees are very grateful for having heard how to hopefully be more innovative in their business.
Thank you, Evelina. It was a pleasure for me as well.